the Kansas City Chiefs have become undeniably completely out of control. They've won another close big game in the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills specifically. And at this point, I think we're reaching the territory where the Chiefs winning games at this high of a level is almost bad for football. They've kept the Bills out year after year, and they do it again in the Bills' best chance to get to a Super Bowl, maybe to win a Super Bowl. And they did it in a year where the Chiefs were the weakest we've seen them in a very long time. This is the worst offense we've seen in the Patrick Mahomes era. The defense has been sort of their saving grace in some games at this point, and it still let up 24 points against the Bills, which is their most of the entire season, but it's understandable considering this is the Bills offense. But still, this is the weakest Chiefs team we've seen in years, and still somehow they're in the conference championship game, and somehow they're keeping out the Dolphins and the Bills, and it's very deflating as a Colts fan, as a fan of an AFC team that maybe isn't the most well covered in the media, maybe a team that doesn't, year in and year out isn't just threatening to win a Super Bowl. We're more so threatening to hope to maybe make the playoffs this year. And as a fan of a team like that, and as knowing that the Bills were that for a very long time and they're finally getting their shot, the Dolphins were like that for a very long time and now they're finally getting their shot. And just seeing the Chiefs trounce these teams every year in the playoffs, it's very deflating. We started off this playoffs in the wild card round. The Dolphins, they had a great season, high flying offense. It was incredibly fun to watch. And then they had to go to Kansas City, and we saw what happened there. They lose, what was it, 26-9 in the cold, the freezing cold. And sure, the weather conditions in that game affected things, and maybe the Dolphins weren't going to win that game anyway. They were very injured. The Chiefs win that playoff game. I felt bad about it. I didn't feel great because I was like, I don't think this Chiefs team deserves to win a playoff game. I don't think they've been good enough this season, especially late in this season, to deserve a playoff win. And then they follow that up with the divisional rounds where they play the Bills. And they beat the Bills again in the Bills' best chance. And sure, maybe the Bills would have lost to the Ravens. Maybe everyone's going to lose to the Ravens and they're just going to steamroll everybody because that's basically all they've been doing in this, of course, postseason. They've only played one game and late in the regular season when they have their starters in. And so the Bills, sure, maybe they get destroyed by the Ravens anyway, but at least they would have gotten there. And at least it's a next step. But right now they're just kept out. They're at the gates of, Kansas. The Kansas City Chiefs are the guards at the gates, and they just are not letting the Bills or anyone else through. And what's frustrating about it is the fact that the Chiefs already got their Super Bowl. They actually got two. In 2019, they beat the 49ers, and in 2022, they beat the Eagles, or I guess the 2023 Super Bowl, but the 2022 season. And it's just very difficult to watch at this point. The Chiefs just continue to beat these teams, especially because I think we can both agree they're probably not going to win a Super Bowl this year, right? The Kansas City Chiefs are probably not a Super Bowl champion team this year in the 2023 season, in the 2024 Super Bowl. There's better teams out there. The Ravens are out there, the 49ers are out there, right? Even the Lions are out there. The Lions beat the Chiefs in week 1. The Chiefs do not seem like Super Bowl champions to me this season, but they're still the team. They're still the one team that's going to be the Bills. If the Bills made the AFC Championship game, maybe they win and go to the Super Bowl. Maybe they lose by 21, but at least they lost by 21 to a team that, actually has a fighting chance. And sure, the Chiefs are good. The Chiefs are great. They're one of the Final Four teams for a reason. They have a real shot to beat the Ravens. I don't think that game is going to be a blowout. I think that game is certainly going to be closer than a lot of people maybe think. But the Chiefs consistently being that massive supervillain team that at this point no one wants to see win, and they continue to win, and it's just very deflating and, in my opinion, bad for the brand of the NFL. And the real question is just, when are they not going to, right? When are they not going to be the team that just stands in the way and says, nope, you're not better than the Chiefs. You can't pass through here. You can't pass through to the next level of NFL success in this league it's so difficult to win in. And with the Chiefs having won in this league for long enough, right? And with the Bills, also, they've been winning in this league for a long time, sure. They haven't gotten their Super Bowl. They haven't gotten to a Super Bowl, and they've lost to the Chiefs the majority of their seasons. And the thing with the Bills is the fact that their Super Bowl window is, in my opinion, closer to closing than it is to opening, right? I think they're past the halfway mark of their Super Bowl window, especially considering Josh Allen's cap hit quadruples in this offseason. So it's going to be way more difficult to keep your stars on this roster. I expect them to probably move on from Stephon Diggs. You've got guys like Gabe Davis. The Von Miller contract looks terrible after we've sort of seen how much he has produced, strong stats, strong numbers for this team. James Cook, I imagine they're going to want to keep. There's too many stars on this team to pay all of them now that Josh Allen's salary is going to practically quadruple. It's going to be very difficult to stay under that salary cap. It's only going to get harder for the Bills. It's never going to be easier than it was this year. And they had a real chance to beat the Chiefs. And sure, maybe they would have lost to the Ravens. Maybe they would have lost in the Super Bowl. But at least they would have ascended to that next level and gotten closer. And as a fan of a team like the Colts, who is, like I said, they're not threatening to win a Super Bowl year in and year out. We're threatening to maybe make the playoffs. Maybe, if we win a playoff game, that would be just an unimaginable success, right? And I imagine Texans fans probably feel similarly in this regard, and the fact that when you see this happen to a team like the Bills, where they were bad and they were average for far too long, and they finally broke through with Josh Allen, but now consistently, year in and year out, losing to specifically the Chiefs. It's not even like the Bills are choke runs in the playoffs. They played a great game the other day against Kansas City this year, and they have in the past, losing in that 13-second drive after the Chiefs had already gotten their Super Bowl. It's just very, very difficult to watch. It's very difficult to swallow. I'm not a Bills fan, right? I'm a Colts fan, but I imagine my team in that shoes because I watched when I was younger the Bills be average forever, and I didn't even know that the Bills were a team for years of my life because they were just so painfully irrelevant. And the Colts are sort of like that now. The Colts are sort of like that team where, this past season, no one was watching us. No one cared about us. We had Gardner Minshew at our quarterback. We had, sure, Michael Pittman Jr., DeForest Buckner, Shaquille Leonard for some of the season, Jonathan Taylor. There are great players on this team, but no one was really excited to watch the Colts every week if you weren't a Colts fan. And seeing the Bills be that team, ascend to another level of being able to get to the playoffs and contend for a Super Bowl legitimately year in and year out, and then be consistently knocked down and knocked out by the Chiefs, the same old Chiefs. It's really, really difficult to swallow. I hope the Chiefs and the Bills play each other in the playoffs next year, but like I said, it's never going to get easier for the Bills. The amount of money they're going to have to play Josh Allen, the amount of money they're going to have to pay their stars is just unimaginable at this point. They're going to have to let go of some stars on this roster. They're going to have less great players if they play the Chiefs again in the playoffs next year. And this Super Bowl window of the young Josh Allen, young quarterback era is very quickly closing. And if the Chiefs beat them again next year, I don't know what I'm going to have to say because, like I said, they got their 2 Super Bowls. They feel like they've done it. They've done it. They're the villains now because they keep these teams out of their opportunity to win a Super Bowl. If they beat the Ravens next week, it's going to be even worse because this is the Ravens' year. Like 2023-24 belongs to the Baltimore Ravens. They're the best team in the league, undoubtedly. You can't get around that. I'm not saying that means they have to win the Super Bowl or they deserve to win the Super Bowl. They have to win games and get them there. If they go to the Super Bowl and lose to the Lions, I would be the happiest man alive, right? Because that would be amazing to see for the Lions. Even if they lose to the 49ers, right? We get a rematch of the Harbaugh Bowl, the blackout game. But if they lose to the Chiefs and the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl, and imagine if the Chiefs beat the Ravens and the Lions back to back. They've knocked out the Dolphins. They've knocked out the Bills, even worse. They knocked out the Ravens in their true best shot to win a Super Bowl, where the Ravens are the favorites. They are the best team. And then they would have knocked out the Lions, getting revenge on week 1. They would have knocked out the Lions, the fan favorite Lions. For this year specifically, America's team, the Lions. It would be impossible. It would be impossible to watch. It would be impossible to bear, impossible to swallow. I just don't know when the Chiefs are going to fall off. I thought it was this year. I made a video 2 to 3 weeks ago about how they're not going to win a playoff game. I was wrong. They've won 2, and they may win a 3rd and a 4th and win a Super Bowl. I'm at a point where after their performance, they've had the best offensive game in their entire season. Just last week, their defense looked strong as well. This Chiefs team, I'm not convinced they're going to get blown out by the Ravens. I'm not convinced they're going to lose to the Ravens. That's not a prediction. We'll do predictions later on in the week, hopefully, but it's looking bad, and the Chiefs are out of control. Someone has to slow them down. Someone has to make it stop. And I just don't know when that's going to happen, because the floor for Patrick Mahomes at this point is a conference championship game. And that is just impossible to imagine. That is all I have for this episode, for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Keep in mind, these bonus episodes are just, I wake up in the morning, I turn on the camera, I hit record, and I just start talking about football, right? Whatever I want to talk about for that morning. On Saturdays, we will still have the main episodes that are much more heavily edited and much more professional and more heavily scripted and researched and all those things. These episodes during the week are more of me just getting in front of the camera and talking. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to hit like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And enjoy the conference championship weekends as much as you can, no matter who wins, from the Colts perspective.